Our first watch is the Biom Nitrix. The Biom Nitrix takes the form of two dark green gauntlets with black and green rectangles, borrowing the same hourglass symbol as the Omnitrix. The Biom Nitrix is actually two Omnitrixes linked together, allowing the user to create alien fusions by slamming the gauntlets together. These fusions are not stored. They're created in real time while transforming. And by using only one gauntlet, the user can switch to regular aliens. Each gauntlet gives full access to all unlocked aliens, and the user can transform by saying the alien's name or even without saying it, like the Omnitrix's Master Control. The Biom Nitrix even has a randomizer function. Compared to older models, the Biom Nitrix is incredibly streamlined, almost weightless, fitting perfectly and blending right in with the natural curves of the user's forearms. If the user falls unconscious or takes a hard enough hit in a transformation, they'll revert back. The Biom Nitrix usually adapts the user's clothing to each alien form, with the Biom Nitrix symbol shifting position on each alien's body. It can even be voice-controlled. However, it can be temporarily disabled if hit by a large electromagnetic pulse, like from a solar flare. Our next watch, the Coden stream, is more than a watch. It's a network of rivers of green lava that runs throughout Primus. The Coden stream originated from a volcano, which was actually a processing plant for the DNA in the stream. Miax, while getting Florana DNA on Floor's Verdance, unknowingly added Ectonuridae DNA because Zisiskar possessed the Florana sample. The Chimera sui generis DNA originally came from Vilgax, but that sample ended up deleted. In Ghost Freaked Out, the Ectonuridae DNA was removed from the Coden stream after Zisiskar escaped, taking Ghost Freak off the active playlist. Later, in Be Afraid of the Dark, Ziskar's DNA was unknowingly scanned again, bringing Ectonurite DNA back into the Coden stream. Ben originally assumed there were about 10,000 DNA samples in the Coden stream, and his future counterpart, Ben 10,000, backed it up. But later, after meeting Aasmuth, the Ectonurite DNA was removed again, letting Ziskar escape the Omnitrix one more time. The Coden stream used to have conductoid DNA until feedback was removed and seemingly destroyed by malware, after which Azimuth recalibrated it to reject conductoid samples for 5 years. The Coden stream was first hinted at in War of the Worlds. Part 1, when Azimuth revealed that the Omnitrix could access over 1 million samples from species across the Milky Way. Later, with Master Control unlocked, the Omnitrix announced there were 1,903 DNA samples in the Coden stream. In Alien Swarm, the number increased to 1,904 after Ben scanned some microchip-possessed citizens to obtain Nanomech. Ghost Town saw the Coden stream acquire Ectonurite DNA once again when Ben scanned Z-Scare, bringing Ghost Freak back. By Ultimate Alien, there were 1,910 samples due to 5 Andromeda Galaxy aliens: Water Hazard, Terraspin, NRG, Armadillo, and Amphibian, being added via the Ultimatrix. Despite Ben's encounters with Vilgax during this time, the Ultimatrix never tried to scan Vilgax's DNA automatically. However, it's possible the Coden stream could have gained a new Chimera sui generis DNA sample when Ultimate Ben unlocked multiple transformations for his younger counterpart. Simeon says the Coden stream even had issues with its Arachnochimp DNA sample. The Coden stream is the backbone of the Omnitrix and Ultimatrix's main function, acting as a wireless receiver that lets them alter the wearer's DNA. When the Omnitrix activates, a holographic display of available aliens appears. Pushing the faceplate in place sends a signal to Primus's volcano, and then the Coden stream sends the selected DNA data back to the Omnitrix, transforming the user. This connection between the Omnitrix, Ultimatrix, and Coden stream is incredibly strong, able to work across dimensions. Ben could transform even in the Null Void, Forge of Creation, parallel universes, and while trapped in a video game. Finally, DNA PODs. DNA pods are small containers inside the Omnitrix that hold DNA samples, allowing access to 10 samples at a time unless the setting is off. Inactive DNA pods stay in a separate chamber but can be temporarily activated. Next is Eunice. The Unitrix, self-nicknamed Eunice, is a prototype Omnitrix which can absorb and contain DNA of various different species. She is also one of Azimuth's creations. In her true form, Eunice is the Unitrix, a core similar to the Omnitrix and Ultimatrix. Unlike future models, the Unitrix resembles a container instead of a watch, but does feature a control dial that, when pressed down, turns it to its mobile DNA form, in this case, Eunice. After gaining human DNA from a randomized genetic sample, Eunice appears as an adolescent woman with around shoulder-length blonde hair and bright green eyes. When Ben's team first found her, she borrowed Ben's jacket so she wouldn't be seen like that. Afterwards, she borrowed a pink tank top, white shorts, and brown flip-flops from Gwen. Since working for Azimuth on Primus, she now sports a white jumpsuit with black stripes. There are green rectangular markings on the back of Eunice's neck. When they are pressed, Eunice turns back into the Unitrix. In Omniverse, Eunice now wears a white dress with a black collar and one stripe in the middle. She also wears black fingerless gloves and black boots. Her hair is now shorter, and she wears a black hairband, which resembles Gwen's Season 2 look in Omniverse. Eunice is kind to humans and animals, and shows love and care for everyone. She is very appreciative to those who help her and cares about animals so much that she wouldn't eat them. Even though she is artificial, due to the fact that she takes the form of a human and has the personality of one, she doesn't like to be treated as an object. Sunder was hired by Azimuth to find the Unitrix when Azimuth lost it. The Unitrix's pod was discovered in the forest at the same time Ben's team was driving for a camping trip. After encountering her, she stayed with them for the day, bonding with Ben, who had recently broken up with Julie. Soon after, the two of them were attacked by Sunder, who shut Eunice down and attempted to get away before Kevin and Gwen stopped him. Kevin restarted the Unitrix again. While the four of them scuffled with Sunder and ended up in a muddy area, Azimuth arrived, broke up the fight, and cleared things up. He stated that Eunice was the Unitrix, a prototype version of the Omnitrix created when Azimuth wanted to preserve alien DNA by placing genetic samples in individual Unitrixes that could animate themselves to take on the appearance and use the abilities of the DNA samples uploaded into them for protection. Azimuth explained that when Gwen cut her hand trying to open the pod containing the Unitrix, her DNA was sampled and randomized to make a human form for the Unitrix, explaining why Eunice has blonde hair while Gwen has orange or red hair. Following a brief argument, Ben allowed Azimuth under a compromise to take Eunice as one of his assistants on Primus. In Simeon Says, Eunice was tending to DNA in the Coden stream, where she found the arachnochimp DNA had some degradation. She went to Araniskimia to get a fresh DNA sample where she found the xenocyte infestation and stayed to help. Eunice was eventually thrown into a pool of xenocytes and turned into a Denalian. She fought swamp fire but was cured. She eventually used Simeon to revert all the arachnochimp Denalians to normal. Eunice is capable of storing DNA of various species. Unlike the Omnitrix and Ultimatrix, she is not connected to the Coden stream, and unlike the completed Omnitrix, she can only hold one DNA sample at a time. Eunice can copy the powers and abilities of different animals and then manifest traits of these animals without changing her form. Whatever Eunice absorbs, she only has the abilities for around 10 minutes. In addition, local wildlife seem to be attracted to Eunice. Normally, shy animals would gather around her, and more dangerous animals, like a bear or snake, would be tamed by her presence. Prior to Simeon Says, Eunice received an upgrade to have a one-way subspace link to Primus for uploading DNA samples. If the markings on the back of her neck are pressed, Eunice will revert to the Unitrix. Having her link to Primus active, Eunice can cause parallel signal interference, which could cause the Ultimatrix to lose its connection to Primus if it is nearby. Eunice can shut it off to prevent this. Eunice can be turned into a Denalian. However, she can be cured by turning the Unitrix off and back on again. According to Azimuth, Eunice is dangerous. The reason why has never been explained. Next is Hero Watch. The Omnitrix, nicknamed the Hero Watch, is the Dimension 23 version of the Omnitrix. This Omnitrix's appearance resembles the original Omnitrix prior to its reconfiguration, except the interface is blue instead of green, much like everything else in Dimension 23. In addition, the face's rim is gold instead of gray. It is blue and light blue in color instead of gray. The Hero Watch mainly allows the user to transform into a wide variety of alien life forms, each with its own unique powers and abilities, along with their weaknesses. In a selection of alien DNA groups of 23 factorial, the Hero Watch has a quick change feature. Manually touching the Hero Watch symbol allows the user to immediately transform back to normal and can also change forms while already transformed. The Hero Watch has a self-destruct mode, and it can synchronize with another Omnitrix, giving it new transformations. The Hero Watch can detach from the user's wrist. This Omnitrix has only shown one display mode so far: black silhouettes of transformations. It is unknown if the Hero Watch can change its display mode. The location of the Omnitrix symbol varies between transformations. The Hero Watch may or may not give clothing to a transformation. Based on the wearer's clothing, the Hero Watch may stop working when frozen in time by a Chrono Sapien. If hacked, the Hero Watch can activate its self-destruct mode. This Omnitrix contains most, if not all, of Ben Prime's normal aliens, including every alien available to him during the original series. Next is Lifeform Lock Microchip. The Lifeform Lock Microchip was created by Blukic and Driba to keep Ben as Gravitac so that he could mediate a truce between the Apoplexians and the Luidans. In Food Around the Corner, Ben, as Gravitac, was elected to mediate peace talks between the Apoplexians and the Luidans. Since Ben doesn't have the codes for the Lifeform Lock, he needed an alternate means to stay as Gravitac for the meeting. Blukic and Driba attached a microchip to the Omnitrix to keep it from timing out. However, due to Poltroon's betrayal and the Hulex destabilizing Gravitac's core, Ben found himself in danger of exploding and taking out the leaders of both races. Rook was shrunk into microscopic size and managed to destroy the chip, allowing Ben to transform and avert the meltdown of Gravitac's core. The microchip is hardwired to the Omnitrix while Ben is transformed, trapping him in one alien form until the Omnitrix is released. To free up the Omnitrix to transform into another alien or return Ben to normal, the microchip must be physically removed or destroyed. Driba also warned Ben, "Don't get the chip wet," though the reason why was never made clear. Next is Neotrix. The Omnitrix, nicknamed the Neotrix, is Ben's version of the second Omnitrix. The Neotrix looks exactly like the second Omnitrix, except the white parts are black and the green parts are dark gray. The Neotrix has all of the second Omnitrix's features. It is unknown if the Neotrix contains Feedback's DNA. It is unknown if Ben names his aliens differently than Ben Prime's, or at all. The crew came up with a bunch of names for Ben's aliens that are exclusive to him. Alien Whatever, Apathetic X, Dystopia, Don't Care Bear, Sad Panda, and Snooze Alarm. Next is Neometrix. The Neometrix is a knockoff version of the original Omnitrix that was created by Dr. Psychobos. Kyber used it frequently with Zed, and then his Panuncian to turn them into predatory species of the Omnitrix aliens. The Neometrix is shaped like a hexagon. It is colored red and silver. The symbol looks like an open mouth with sharp teeth. It is used like a collar rather than a wristwatch, respectively given how dangerous its use is to sapient creatures such as humans. The Neometrix has the ability to transform the user into non-sapient beings. Previously, the user transformed with the instructions given by Kyber via his whistles. Later, Dr. Psychobos fitted the Neometrix with a stabilizer core stolen from the Omnitrix, allowing the user to transform on their own. Similar to the original Omnitrix before recalibration, the Neometrix can display silhouettes of its aliens. Similar to the current Omnitrix, it can store DNA within itself. Similar to the Omnitrix, the Neometrix has a timeout function and a recharge mode. The Neometrix has the ability to evolve aliens into their ultimate forms, granting them new powers and new abilities that are more powerful. This feature was added by Albedo during his partnership with Kyber. The Neometrix is compatible with slime biotes, like Skurd, and gains access to the many mutations Skurd gives. The Neometrix does not have the same capture mode feature as the Omnitrix. Only non-sapient beings can wield the Neometrix properly because the biofeedback of the Neometrix would destroy an intelligent mind, as sapient life forms cannot handle the savage feral nature of the Neometrix aliens. Genetic parasites such as SCURD are also able to withstand high amounts of neural shifts without losing their intelligence. Only Kyber and Phil have used the Neometrix, but with dangerous side effects such as memory loss and genetic mutation. Dr. Psychobos and Malware invented the Neometrix for Kyber using incomplete but crucial schematics from the original Omnitrix in order to retrieve it from Ben and use its parts niche or schematics to perfect the Neometrix. Its purpose was to destroy Azimuth, and with the Neometrix now perfected with a piece from the current Omnitrix's core that Dr. Psychobos stole from Ben, such devices were no longer needed to do so. Albedo, in his alliance with Kyber, made some modifications. One of them was an evolutionary feature similar to the Ultimatrix. After the events of For a Few Brains More, the Neometrix was taken into Plumber custody after Kevin removed it. Kyber retrieved it in Stuck on You, but the plumbers reclaimed it at the end of the episode. Next is Omega Doom. The Omega Doom is a DNA-altering device similar to the Omnitrix, created and used by Dr. Doom. The Omega Doom, like the Omnitrix, is a bracelet. However, its appearance is more grotesque, being light brown with darker spots with a diamond-shaped outline for its dial. Its symbol is light blue with light pink in the shape of a circle with smaller circles inside that alternate color. Next is the classic Omnitrix. The Omnimatrix, better known as the Omnitrix, was a watch-like device that attached to Ben Tennyson's wrist at the beginning of the series and is the device that the franchise revolves around. The device is a portable library of intergalactic genetic data that allowed the wielder to alter their DNA at will and rapidly transform into a variety of different alien species, each with their own unique abilities. The Omnitrix was created by Azimuth as a tool of peace in an act of repentance following the destruction caused by his previous creation, Ascalon, a weapon of terrible power. To the rest of the universe, the Omnitrix had a twofold purpose. One was to promote interspecies understanding by allowing other beings to experience different ways of life. The other was to function as a repository for the DNA of over 1 million different species that Azimuth thought were intelligent. The samples were scanned and, when necessary, repaired. This collection of DNA was then preserved in the event that any of the species cataloged should ever be rendered extinct, allowing the Omnitrix to restore them to life. Active mode is the Omnitrix's default mode when idle. It is where the user can select the transformation they want to become, initiate the process of transforming, and stay in said transformation. The actual usage time is 10 minutes at a time. However, different factors and actions performed by the user can severely diminish the available usage time, most commonly if the user, while transformed, changes to another form. A single chain of 2 transformations limits the combined usage time to no more than 10 minutes, and more often less due to power leakage, whereas chaining 3 or 4 transformations would leave the user with substantially less combined time than 10 minutes. This is because the action is energy-intensive and depletes the Omnitrix's power supply more quickly than staying in a single transformation does. Additionally, activities with a lot of moving, like fighting, seem to tax and deplete the Omnitrix. However, if regular transformations are tampered with, the user can't always turn back. When the Omnitrix's usage time is fully depleted, i.e. times out, it goes into recharge mode, firstly warning of the timing out, then de-transforming the user and locking all functions of active mode while the Omnitrix recharges. It takes around 5 minutes to recharge, though it may take more time if tampered with. Recharge mode's main purpose is to prevent the alien DNA from attaching permanently to its host. The Omnitrix is powered by a special self-renewable power supply that will long outlive Ben. The Omnitrix can detect when its host is in any sort of life-threatening distress. It can instantly recharge to protect the user from a direct physical threat. This was shown when Ben was stuck to a wall about to be killed by Kevin 11, and when Ziza Skayer tried to possess Ben. Both times, despite just timing out within a minute earlier, the Omnitrix recharges instantly when the user's life is put in direct threat. This feature was switched off after the reconfiguration. If the user is knocked out or hurt enough, the Omnitrix will revert them to their normal form. The reconfigured Omnitrix times out with no warning due to the warning being switched off when the Omnitrix was reconfigured. When the Omnitrix was repairing the DNA aliens to make them human again, the Omnitrix went into recharge mode after a while. After the Omnitrix had reset, the timeout warning feature was turned back on. When recharging, the hourglass flashes either red instead of remaining a solid red, as it had when the Omnitrix was in its original form. The Omnitrix can alternatively flash green rather than red when signaling a timeout, when a new DNA sample has been unlocked from the codon stream, or when the Omnitrix captures new DNA not present in the codon stream, collect mode is activated. It can also reclaim lost or removed alien DNA that was in the codon stream. It scans to match the species, then moves the identified species to the active playlist. If it's seen the species before, it does it passively without Ben actively scanning. Unlike in the original series, the Omnitrix in Alien Force would not scan by touch. Due to its reconfiguration, the Omnitrix could scan Kevin's mutations, but it was programmed not to. In self-destruct mode, the Omnitrix charges energy while counting down until it explodes. SDM functions as a last resort should the Omnitrix fall into the wrong hands. It can be activated by voice command. When in SDM for a few days, the Omnitrix can charge enough energy to cause an energy ripple that will destroy the entire universe. While in SDM, the Omnitrix can send out energy bursts capable of throwing the user through the air. When the SDM is activated, the Omnitrix sends out a signal that any ship can pick up, unless it was activated by voice command, such as when Vilgax picked it up with a stolen ship, and Tetrax picked up the signal, likely as a distress signal. The SDM was used and successfully triggered in an attempt to force Vilgax to give it to Ben, although he refused. It only destroyed itself and not the universe because it was charged for only 30 seconds. As opposed to a few days. The Omnitrix begins to reconfigure while selecting a set of new aliens. When Ben put the Omnitrix back on his arm after a couple of years, the Omnitrix took a new sample of Ben's DNA, adjusted itself to his current biochemistry, and physically reconfigured itself to what it guessed were his needs. The Omnitrix would transform, reconfigure itself as Ben gets older, giving him more control and access to more aliens. The Omnitrix makes a beep-like noise. The hourglass turns blue, then it changes to a glowing black and green and morphs into its new shape. The Omnitrix has hundreds of different forms. This is to fit different users. The Omnitrix gives its wielder a new set of aliens, depending on whether it is a hard or soft reset. When hacking the Omnitrix, Kevin accidentally and briefly reverted the Omnitrix to its original appearance before changing it back. Azimuth could also program it to reconfigure remotely. There are a lot of other watches in Ben 10, and if I cover them in this video, it will be way too long. If this video gets 10,000 likes, I'll make a part 2. Until then, thanks for watching.